Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Therapy Daily or Aviation Week. You know, they're kind of one and the same at this point. Whoop, there's
Yeah,
aviation. This is Air Force One, or a previous version of Air Force One.
yeah.
And there's our therapeutic whipping dog. And here's me.
Feeling pretty good today, Brad.
Are you?
Yep. I think as the further we get out, you can see a little sunlight behind the clouds. Plus I've drank an entire bottle of rum in the past week. So, yeah, I think it's good. I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, that's I think that's what they refer to as the drugs are kicking in.
Yes, exactly. I feel curiously medicated.
Speaking of curiously medicated, if you are diseased by any chance of ransomware or that type of thing and you're an Office 365 home or personal subscriber, you now basically get all the corporate business features like file restore and encrypted email and other good stuff.
So just to be clear, I didn't look at this at all. Frankly, one of the nice things about having Mahedi around is I can hand it off like a quarterback doing a cheap play, And does this impact consumers as well? The OneDrive file restore stuff?
Yep, everybody gets it now.
Okay, and I assume it's only cloud-based at this point. Like you have to do it in the web browser. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Well, it's good. That happened actually more quickly than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a logical move. It's probably more a pain in the butt for them to have kind of two iterations of this stuff. And so for them, it was probably easier just to say, okay, everybody who's at OneDrive is getting this. It's easier that way. So.
Yeah, and because the client sync engines are the same, I assume whenever it does come to the client, and that it will come to the client, that it should happen on both sides simultaneously.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Look at that. Look at that fancy stuff. We do have good news on today's show. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
But speaking of a wave of bad news, Paul, or is it good news?
Yes.
You continued your streak of daily thought pieces of...
Yeah, that's exactly how I think of them. That's funny.
Well, what is today's thought piece, Paul?
Lowercase t on that one because it's me. As I sort of ruminate about what all this stuff means, I've a bunch of things have kind of come together in my head around this. And part of it was a conversation we had yesterday on Windows Weekly. Part of it was an announcement that Microsoft had yesterday about its investment in IoT. Part of it was as part of some research I'd done for a previous article in this sort of series. I went back and looked at what Microsoft had said and written about the intelligent cloud and intelligent edge strategy or initiative or whatever you want to call that they have. And the thing that occurred to me was that a couple of years ago, and this was on the record stuff too, I talked to guys from Microsoft, including people like Frank Shaw, who you know, about Microsoft's defeat in mobile and what that meant for the company and the challenges that it presented and so forth. And one of the things I heard personally repeatedly from these folks, and I'm pretty sure they said publicly elsewhere, was that they had missed the mobile wave and that they were determined not to miss the next wave of computing, right? That they know they blew that one, but they were going to get on board with the next one. And of course, there's some questions arise out of that, like what is the next wave, And I think Microsoft did itself some disservice over the past few years. You will recall Terry Myerson referred to Windows Mixed Reality as the next wave on several occasions, which is ludicrous. Windows Mixed Reality is a little ripple that hits the shore. It's not a wave. It's a little thing. He referred to Windows 10 on ARM, remember, in December as the next wave, which I thought was kind of comical in a way.
Yeah.
But I've always maintained that the next wave is what I call ambient computing. It's this combination of cloud services and what today are appliances in our house or digital assistants on our other devices that we interact with naturally, right? Using gestures, using voice, whatever. The first generation of that stuff is kind of Tinker Toy-like. It's like a stupid speaker thing you plop down at a desk and plug into the wall. But the future of this stuff is that it becomes really pervasive throughout your house. So in my room that I'm in now, you could imagine sensors being in the wall switches and the lights. They're going to be everywhere. And that you don't think that you're interacting with a device. You're just interacting with this thing that's everywhere you are. It will extend outside of our home, out into public spaces, in our cars, in our workplaces. This will be available everywhere. It'll recognize your voice. It will make sure you access your own private data. It's the type of thing where you'll walk in the living room and say, I want to watch Magnum PI, and it throws it up on the wall. You know, you don't even have to think. You're not thinking about the screen or the, whatever.
Right.
It's just it becomes pervasive. So the question then becomes, well, what's Microsoft's role in this future? And actually, it's a pretty good one, right? So Microsoft is one of only a few companies that has the back end infrastructure and scale to handle the cloud part of it, the AI, the machine learning, and all this stuff that happens up in the cloud. Google and Amazon and maybe IBM kind of factor into that story, but that's pretty much the end of that. And then the client is what? It's IoT, actually.
Yeah.
And the reason that's interesting and the reason this is so positive for Microsoft is that if you think about the difference in size as you move from the PC market, hundreds of millions sold per year, a couple of billion out in the world maybe, but declining. And then you go to smartphones, which are 1.5 billion a year, sold 5 times as much, actually closer to 6 times as much these days. And then several billions out in the world, or the web, several billions of users, is you see this kind of exponential leap. And the thing that's interesting about a smartphone, say, compared to IoT devices, is that if you just think of yourself as an individual, how many phones are you going to have? You're going to have one at any given time. That most people will have one phone. There are more phones in the world than PCs, but they will have one. But how many sensors will serve every individual out in the world? Dozens? Hundreds? Yeah. I mean, just think in your own house. And the way these things get there is in baby steps, right? It's just like adding Ethernet to your house. You can add it to a house later. You can add plumbing to a house later that they did 100, 200 years ago, whatever. You can add electricity to a house, which they did 100-something years ago ago. But modern houses of the future will just be built with this stuff built in. And it just becomes part of the new infrastructure. And so we'll retrofit old stuff. We'll take baby steps to the future, but eventually we're going to arrive at that thing. And Microsoft is one of a few companies working on a very complete IoT platform. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to win. It doesn't mean that they aren't going to be one of several players. They will be. Of course, other major platform makers are working on this stuff too. But when you think of all of Microsoft's core audiences, consumers and individuals, business users, businesses through IT, and developers, this plays into all of those things. And when you think about like one of the downfalls of the PC and the App Store and all that kind of baloney we see on Windows 10 is that it's not a very personal device. And smartphones are, because we're sitting there like huddled around our phones. I think that these IoT devices, as goofy as this sounds, will be even more personal because it will eliminate the separation that we now have between each other as people, because we're sitting there at the kitchen table or at dinner looking at individual phones rather than each other. And when you put that stuff up in the air, so to speak, you give a command, you ask for something, it happens, and then you can get back to what you're doing, which is interacting with other people. I think this future is actually pretty exciting. So I'm happy that Windows failed, Brad. That's what I'm trying to say. No, but I do see a kind of a positive potential future there for Microsoft.
And Microsoft did quite literally just announce, I think, yesterday that they're dumping $5 billion.
Yeah, it's interesting coincidence of timing. So yeah, now I don't know enough about IoT from a developer perspective to say with any certainty that Windows IoT Core or whatever is worth a damn or whatever. And they have these examples, and some of them like the smart thermometer, the smart thermostat. I don't know why I keep calling it that, which is really pretty looking and whatever, but it's based on, Cortana technologies on the back end, and it runs on Windows IoT Core, whatever. The nice thing about a lot of this digital assistant technology is that it's kind of heterogeneous, right? So you could standardize on Philips Hue light bulbs and, some brand of smart switches and some kind of security system and whatever, and all of this stuff is going to work with it just fine. So I think the key to Microsoft's growth in the future is going to be getting this stuff going with its enterprise customers, obviously, right? And then and getting some key wins that are a little more, a little less vertical, let's say, than the enterprise for these devices. Cars, I think, is an obvious one. Smart home tech in general, whatever. So it's an open field, and this is I think a place where Microsoft could succeed.
Well, we can only hope.
Yeah, there was a lot of talking. Sorry about that.
No, I'm quite. Let Let me see if this Miracast. Oh, Miracast is working. So Paul, what you can't see. So while it is still Aviation Week, Paul.
Yep.
It's actually secretly Masters Week, and I have a live stream right next to your face.
Where is that, by the way? Is that Augusta or something, or what's the location of the Masters? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Are you trying to make me cry on?
No, I'm just trying to find out where this
TV.
beautiful green place is so I can go there now because it's freezing here.
Well, Paul, this is Augusta.
It is Augusta.
This is the golf mecca. The best
That's
grass.
Georgia, I take it. Georgia, right? Augusta,
yes,
Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's there every year. Since ever.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Just, yeah.
It's the only thing that matters this week, Paul. And my wife is already angry at me for how much TV I'm going to be watching.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but also today is the Red Sox season's home opener. I think it's happening at 2, which coincides with an unfortunately timed work call we're going to have. So I think I'm coming down with something.
Yep. And then I've also got, I didn't align the meetings I have today. I have one at 11:30, 2 o'clock, and 4 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. The later in the day they get, the worse they are, you know.
It's those damn West Coast people. You can probably
I've
surmise
had,
who it's
5:30, 6 p.m. kind of calls, and it's like, I know it's late for you, but can you blah, 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 and it's like, yeah,
can you
but
order a
be
pizza
drinking.
and have it
Is that a
delivered?
problem?
Because I can't cook dinner if I'm on the phone with you. Thank you.
What is that clinking sound we hear, Paul? I'm taking notes.
I'm definitely not putting oil on my cast iron skillet, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, because of said meeting, Paul, you got anything else?
No, I didn't mean
today?
to short circuit your Masters talk. So what's the process for the Masters? How does this work?
Well, it's golf, so they bring
No,
clubs.
I get that. Yes.
This is Tiger
Some
Woods.
rounds of golf. Is Tiger Woods back? I think I saw that.
Yes, he made the cut for the Masters, so he is he's actually doing well leading up to the event. We'll see how he actually does here.
Sure.
It's basically
Is that
golf.
him there?
What's it? Yes, this is him.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It made me feel a little bit at home, although I tend to slice the ball. He hooked the shit out of this one and almost hit some people up over here.
Yeah,
But,
I think he has the danger of being Wizards era Michael Jordan. You know?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe, but he's done actually quite well. He's like been in contention, top 10 a couple times already this season, so he might be okay. But we'll see. We will see. Okay. So basically, it's golf. 18 holes now through Sunday, provided you make the cut, and only I think it was the top half roughly. I always forget what it is. Make the cut after a couple rounds, and then basically it all comes down to Sunday evening, where I will be sitting in front of my TV with a juice box and a bowl of popcorn, just watching TV.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah. Yep. And then I will look outside, and it'll be 34 degrees and cold, and I can't go golfing, and then I will sink back into my hole of depression.
It might literally snow here on Saturday.
Yeah. Tomorrow it's supposed to get up to 56, and I'm tempted after.
No, it's a roller coaster. If you look at the weather here, and I'm sure it's similar for you. It's up and then down, and up and then down.
The 10
I guess
day
we call
looks
that
good.
spring.
The 10-day looks good. It's supposed to be up into the mid 60s, I think, in 10 days from now, provided it doesn't snowstorm some 10 days from now. Either way, the way things have been going. But I might try to go to the driving range tomorrow after our little live podcast thing. We'll see. We will see.
Alrighty.
All right.
Cool.
You got anything else, Paul? So I can go back to watching TV.
Just quickly, because I know you got to go. I got my replacement Pixel 2 XL, and I will have an article up about that soon.
Boom, boom, boom. We're all looking forward to that. And folks, well, that wraps it up today here from Augusta Basement. And we'll catch you right back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, because it will be a live show, hell or high water. And it might be high water because there's a lot of rain lately. But have yourselves a wonderful Thursday, and we'll catch you right back here tomorrow.